So he said, Mr. Brown, I've done all that I can do for you. You've got to go out and face the music. You go with the things I've taught you and make it happen. I went to WMBM radio station on Miami Beach. Milton Butterball Smith was the program director. Hello, Mr. Butterball. My name is lesbrown, sir. I'd like to be a disc jockey. He said, young man, you have any journalism in your background? No, sir, I don't. You have any experience in broadcasting? No, sir, I don't, but I practice every day. Let me audition for you. Let me show you how good I am. He says, no, we don't have any job for you. How many have been rejected? Raise your hands, please. I was devastated with rejection. I went back, Mr. Washington. I said, Mr. Washington. They said no. He said, don't take it personally. Most people are so negative, they have to say no 7 times before they say yes. He said, you got to be hungry. Go back again. I said, yes, sir. I went back again. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I'd like to be a disc jockey. He said, I know what your name is. Weren't you here yesterday? Yes, sir. Didn't I tell you no yesterday? Yes, sir. He said, then why are you back today? I said, well, sir, I didn't know whether or not somebody was laid off or somebody was fired, sir. Don't want to laid off or fired. Now get on out of here. I came back the next day, talking loud, looking happy, like I was seeing you for the first time. I said, hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you? My name is Les Brown, sir. I'd like to be a disc jockey. He said, I know what your name is. Weren't you here the last 2 days? I said, yes, sir. Didn't I tell you no the last 2 days? I said, yes, sir. He said, then why are you back today? I said, sir, I didn't know whether or not someone got sick or someone died, sir. He said, no one got sick or died. No one was laid off or fired. Now don't you come back here again. I came back the next day, talking loud, looking happy, like I was singing for the first time. I said, hello, Mr. Butterball. Rage. He said, go get me some coffee. I said, yes, sir. My favorite book said, the greatest among you will be your servant. So I became the errand boy for the disc jockeys. I was serving them. I'd go get their lunch and their dinner, and I come into control room, watching them working the control room knobs and switches, knowing my time will come. Let us say together, my time will come when I'll be a top producer and when I'll come up on stage and they call my name because of my accomplishment. My time will come because I'm going to put forth the effort. And so on the weekends when the disc jockeys would come out to the parking lot, the cars would be clean inside out. They said, hey, who did this? I did, sir. How much do you charge, young man? Oh, nothing, sir. I just wanted to help out. Write this down. Build relationships. Build relationships. Give before you ask people to come into your business. Find some way to compliment them. Talk to them, ask them questions. Find out what's important to them, what's stressing them out, what keeps them up at night, what drives them, what they value. Don't advance with the business. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. That's why you want to tell the story and ask key questions. You want to be strategic and experiential. Write this down. You have an energy signature. People are feeling you out. They're listening to you. They're watching you. And so it said, look, here are my car keys, young man. Donna Ross and the Supremes are coming to town, the Four Tops and the Temptations. I want you to pick them up at the airport and take them to the Fontainebleau Hotel on Miami Beach. It is my pleasure to serve you, sir. I would drive these entertainers all over Miami Beach in the disc jockeys' big, long Cadillacs. I didn't have any driver's license, but I'll drive it like I had some. Then one day, it's a Saturday afternoon, a disc jockey by the name of Rockin' Roger was drinking while he was on the air. Rockin' Roger got so drunk, he could not complete the show. He began to slur his words. He's about to fall off the chair. It's a Saturday afternoon, and I was the only one there, looking at him through the control room window, walking back and forth. young, ready, and hungry. I was saying, drink, rock, drink. Drink, rock. I'd have gone and get him some more if he'd asked me to. Then pretty soon the phone rang. It was a general manager. I said, hello? He said, young boy, this is Mr. Clyde. I said, I know. He said, Rock can't finish the program. I said, I know. He said, will you call one of the other DJs in? I said, yes, sir. I hung the phone up and said, now he must be think I'm crazy. I called my mama and my girlfriend, Cassandra. I said, y'all come out on the front porch, turn up the radio. I'm about to come on the air. I waited for about 20 minutes and I called him back. I said, Mr. Klein, I can't find nobody. He said, young boy, you know how to work the controls? I said, yes, sir. He said, go in there and segue the records, but don't you say nothing here. I said, yes, sir. I couldn't wait to get old Rock out of the way. I put on a fast record. I said, look out, this is me, LB, Triple P. Les Brown, your platter playing papa. There were none before me and there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only. Young and single and love to mingle. Certified, bona fide, duly qualified to bring you satisfaction and a whole lot of action. Look out, baby, I'm your love man. I was hungry. Give the old man a round of applause. I was hungry. I was hungry. I was hungry. You got to be hungry. Shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, you got to be hungry. Do that right now. Shake somebody else's hand. Say, you got to be hungry.
Our audience is mostly people who they're in business and they want to make millions. So what's your advice? You're 79. You've been around everyone. You have access, unlike most of us. What are the rules to win, according to Les Brown?
Focus on the experiences. And what I mean by that, my children are involved in my business. And somebody asked me, what's the most rewarding experience you've had as a speaker? When you got a contract for a pharmaceutical company where they paid you $640,000 in 1 month for 16 presentations, or when you spoke in the Georgia Dome, it's not over till you win, to 80,000 people. And I said, no. So what's the most exciting and rewarding experience? When you made your first million in 3 years? I said, no. I says two things. One, when my children said, Dad, I know why you have done the things that you do. I know why that you would work at special events, sporting events, or when I was in ballet. I understand the sacrifice now and the price you paid. That was major to me. And now they're stepping up and learning how they can further the business, because a good man leaves a legacy for his children and his children's children. So my youngest daughter is saying, I'm your guy. I can do this. Second most important thing, and my oldest daughter asked me this. She said, in building $1 million business, what's the most exciting part? And I said, to believe that I could do it. Everybody watching us right now, I can say unequivocally that you have to affirm to yourself, I'm going to make this happen. There's some things that you can do that you don't even know. But when you commit yourself, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established in all their ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. When you make the commitment, you've figured out, the difference between being involved in business and being committed to grow your business to a multi-million-dollar or $1 billion industry. Next time you have bacon and eggs, look at it. The chicken was involved. The pig was committed. He had to give it all up. Oh, behave.
That's funny.
I'm focused on the experience. I'm focused on that when my mother, who adopted me among 6 other kids that she didn't give birth to, and when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I just got elected for the 3rd time to the Ohio legislature, and my sister called and, are you sitting down? No, what's wrong with Mama? Mama has breast cancer and it's terminal. I said, I'll be right there, Margaret. Listen, Leslie, we got this. They have wonderful nursing homes in Dade County. Listen to me. She's not going to go to a nursing home. I couldn't understand. How can one woman raise 7 children she didn't give birth to, but 7 grown people couldn't take care of one woman? And the reason was they had this limited vision of themselves. I was the one that, and Ed Millett, he said, there's always one in the family. I was the one. If nobody in your family have ever earned $1 million, decide that you're going to be the one. Okay. Yeah. And I resigned, went back to Miami, and took care of my mother until she left here at 89. But to be there with her, to hold her hand as she took her last breath, and said to all my brothers and sisters, come, I can take care of you until she leaves here. She took care of 7. 7 will be here when she takes her last breath. So to me, the experience that we can create, it says not the number of breaths we take, but the number of experiences that take our breath away, the experiences that we create with our children, with our brothers and our sisters. Those are the things that's most important. I have a Mickey Mouse watch, and I'll even have it on today because I love Mickey Mouse. M-I-C, see you real soon, K-U-Y-Y, because we like you, M-O-U-S-E. All the stuff that a lot of people are fascinated with. Man, let me tell you something. If you have millions of dollars and you don't have peace of mind, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I've been around people who had it, but they did not have peace. They did not have harmony in terms of their alignment with their sense of spirituality and their family and their children and things that gave their lives a sense of meaning. One of my favorite books is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And he talked about the Jews that were able to rise above the inexpressible cruelties of Nazism. He said the Jews that survived and didn't lose their minds, either they had a family member that they were determined to see, or some cause that was bigger than them that they were committed to represent, or a sense of spirituality that gave them the mental capacity and the perseverance and the courage to handle it. And life is very disruptive right now. We're going through a major disruption, but all disruptions are pregnant with new possibilities and opportunities, as you said. And the only way you can navigate that is to be able to live your life from the inside out. I've seen people that they have the planes, they have all the trappings, the big mansions, and I saw a guy, and you and I both know him. I will not call his name. And he said, I got this money. And his significant other was in the audience and took money out of his pocket and threw it on the floor. He said, come up and get it. And I'm looking, and she came up and got down on her knees, picked it up, said to him, I never want to speak for you ever again. That's horrible what you just did. And money doesn't make you. Money reveals who you are.
So you've spent your life training people to be speakers and to tell their story. What are the steps? What are the things that if somebody...
You have to find something that resonates with you. When I looked into this industry, everybody that's involved in business who are watching right now, let's say your goal is to have a multi-billion-dollar business or make tremendous impact in terms of growing your revenue to millions of dollars. You have to ask yourself the question, what is it about me that will allow me to do that? Because you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. I'm reminded of this woman who became a dominant factor in the industry where she was that was controlled by men, and they asked her, how did you get here? And she said something I never forgot. She said, it's not our intention to please our customers or to satisfy our customers. Our intention is to amaze them. And so when we focus on how we can amaze our customers, I spoke for Brian Buffini. And he has a theme. Oh, by the way, we're never too busy for referrals.
Yes.
And I took his staff in and I talked to the top performers and I collected stories from them. And so when I went on stage and I said, John, you remember when we talked about when you came to the company? Nancy, you remember the story that you shared with me, how you're able to get your numbers up? And then at the end of my presentation, because first of all, I called 15 different people and they were like, call my name, and talked about the story that complimented and brought the point home. You never make a point without a story. You never tell a story without a point. To focus it on their mission statement. And I recited it on stage. At the end of it, when I got a standing ovation, I said, excuse me, settle down for just a moment. By the way, I'm never too busy for referrals. Brian Buffini said, oh my God. He said, listen, and this is on camera. He said, whatever number of engagements you have for the rest of the year, I want them. I'll pay for them.
Wow.
Yes, I've never seen one do that before. And so putting in the work, not to come in and just regurgitate something that's in your head, that people can Google information. They don't need us for information, but creating experiences for your internal customers.
Yeah.
Because the people that's handling your external customers, you do a good job on that. Your growth is inevitable. And so when we look at where we are right now, having attention to the big vision and the detail, the small things, the termites in a business. You drive by a house, you can't see termites, but not attended to, it can destroy the foundation of that business. And so taking care of the internal customers, what's going on with you, having each other's back, letting the people know that you're part of my vision and I want to be a part of your vision. What is it that I can help you with at this point in time? That caring factor that Maya Angelou talked about along with Zig. People don't care how much you know until they can know how much you care. And this is a time where the Surgeon General is saying that loneliness is the number one cause of death right now, that we have to now create communities of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships in the work environment, so people are not just showing up and absent in terms of the presence of their mind, but showing up and being engaged and committed to taking their performance to the next level and enhancing each other.
Community.
Yes.
What are the mistakes that you see new business owners and people who tell their story on stage? What are the mistakes that you're like, look, that's Junior Woodchuck stuff. Don't do that again?
When people feel that their story is important to people, nobody cares. Nobody go, you got a story, or life has done you wrong, poor little thing. Nobody gives a damn. 85% of people don't care, and 15% glad it's you and not them.
Yeah.
The key is to deliver a story so that the people in the audience, they see themselves in the story. You strategically engage them in the process. I was talking to a lady the other day, and she started telling me about what she does. And wait a minute. I said, people listen to people. They're first of all asking, who are you? I said, I want you to share something about you before you get into your story, so that they would want to care. And so she started telling me the quality of what she delivers with the clients that she's working with. I said, pump your brakes right now. Tell me about you. Tell me about something that happened to you. And when it happened to you, that life stood still. When it happened to you, that it was a moment of this, before this, and there's after this, and nothing will ever be the same again. What happened to you? And she got still. My uncle raped me and told me not to tell. I swallowed my voice. I said, now, you don't have to say everything, but let me show you how you can deliver it. Ladies and gentlemen, we all have had some moments in our lives that it was traumatic. There was a moment in my life I swallowed my voice, and I did not know how I was going to get through it. And after that, when I left home, I realized that experience I had, it followed me. There's a movie called Magnolia. Said we might be through with our past, but our past is not through with us. And that person that my husband married was damaged goods. And I turned to drugs and alcohol. But there was a place in myself that says, this is not me. I want you to think about your life, and as you look at and reflect on your life, I want you to take a stand, as I did with my life, and say, this will not break me. This will refine me. It's a level of defiance and level of fight that you must have in life. That life is a fight for territory. And once you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want will automatically take over. And so rather than feeling sorry for myself and surrendering to depression, ladies and gentlemen, I became a warrior as opposed to one who worries. And she started crying. She said, you're making me cry in my own story. I said, but can you work with that? I said, yes, you don't need to get all the details because they won't be able to move forward with you. But you can allude to it so that people say, if you say, how many of you have ever gone through some stuff? Because now you're taking them out of their history into their imagination. And they're going to think about the stuff they went through. And so here's what I realized. I had a choice. Every day we're given a chance and a choice. There was a time I was struggling, but then I made a choice that I've got 3 children who didn't ask to be in this world. I have a choice to strengthen myself, to pray, to meditate, to read, to develop myself so that I can be independent. And I'm not surrendering to drugs, but I'm going to surrender to the greatness that I have within myself, the potential to be a mother that my children can be proud of. And so when you work with people like that, as opposed to them just coming and telling their story, it's a different kind of experience.
Changes you. What other mistakes do you see?
It is talking down to people, making blanket statements. You've got to stop being indecisive. You got to stop being around negative people. You got to stop talking to yourself negatively. As opposed to, there are periods in my life I didn't believe in myself. And I had to say, Les Brown, this is not you. Les Brown, things are not going to change for you until you change. And ladies and gentlemen, all of us have had these moments in the mirror, as Michael Jackson talked about, the man in the mirror, that we look at ourselves and say, this is not me. And so as you look at yourself, look at your goals and dreams, I want you to hold a vision of that dream, see it already done. And let us say together, it's possible. It's possible. Shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, it's possible. Now you've got them physically engaged in the presentation. They're affirming someone to their right and to their left, and they're being validated. Now you've created a committed listening. Now I'm going to share with you, not only is that dream that you're holding in your mind possible, but it's necessary that you write it down. it's necessary that you ask yourself the question, who should I count on? And who should I count out? Everybody can't go with you. There's some people that you love that you want to bring with you, and they'll pull you down before you can pull them up. Blink your eyes if you know what I'm talking about.
It's amazing. What's interesting is your stuff works, and I didn't quite understand it. I'm in the car a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
We'd just gotten done with swim with my daughters, and we put one of your greatest hit videos on YouTube in the car because we're going to either listen to Taylor Swift or lesbrown. That's the option.
I love Taylor Swift.
I know. Yeah. She's amazing.
Yes.
And my daughters, like everyone else in the world, are obsessed. But we're driving, and we put on lesbrown, and I say, I'm going to get to meet you this week. And I'm like, really? And then they start listening. And as we're leaving the van, the minivan, I turned to my middle daughter and I said, June, you have greatness in you.
No.
And I saw her eyes light up and her posture change and just this huge smile across her face. Yeah. And I don't think the message didn't resonate for me that I have greatness in me because I've achieved things, but I see her building self-esteem. She's 7, 8.
Mm-hmm.
And it just landed. And then I told my 3-year-old and it just landed. And then I looked at my wife and it landed. How do you make a message like that signature message just that lands with everybody? How do you craft that?
My name is Daniel. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted you to think about your life right now. And I want to ask you a question. What are you looking at? My name, Daniel. That they said when Daniel was in the lion's den, he didn't look at the lions. All of us, at times in our lives, something looking at us, that's stalking us, that's trying to consume us. The distractions of life, negative, toxic relationships, behaviors and choices that does not represent us and does not allow us to bring the next greatest version of ourselves into play. I'm saying to you, as you look at your life, look at your goals and dreams, what you focus on, you will become. What are you looking at? You got greatness in you. You have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. I know you've gone through some stuff. I have too. But at the end of the day, we've been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth. We have the ability to choose. Choose ye this day whom ye shall serve. And as we look at ourselves and look at our goals, let's not get caught up in the distractions of life because you can get stuck looking back, but focus on where you're going. That focus gives you energy and creates momentum to manifest what you see. I'll give you all your eyes can see. What do you see? Abraham Lincoln said, my future is bright. And they asked him, how do you know that? He said, because I'm going to create it. You have the ability to do that too. It's the Daniel principle. Discipline, determination, and drive. So, don't come for me. I didn't call an Uber.
It's amazing. It's an art for you.
I don't know. I mean, what does that mean?
Well, there's different styles of people. There's the director, there's the scientist, there's a soldier who just gets a lot done. Then there's there's the artist.
Joseph Campbell, Long Dark Journey of the Soul, that when we are in pursuit of something, that's our goals and dreams, and we put in the work, eventually it will reveal its gifts to you. We all have it within us. I just met 2 brothers I didn't know that I had. And they said to me, you're just like our mother. And you were never around her. We don't speak like you, but our mother spoke.
Just like you.
Yes.
So it's biology.
No, it's effort. You have to put, I spent a day with Maya Angelou, who was just a great communicator. She said, it aggravates me when people say I'm a gifted speaker. She said, show me a gifted surgeon. Show me one, a gifted heart surgeon. They put in the work. All of us are made in the likeness and image of God. It doesn't get any better than that. And when you put in the time and the effort and the work to do something special that will impact people's lives, that's a recipe for success. But what most of us do because of our conditioning and the environment, that we go to jobs, that we work just hard enough to keep from getting fired.
Yeah.
And they pay us just enough to keep from quitting. And I was in that paradigm. But self-development expanded my vision beyond my mental conditioning and increased my sense of worthiness. I deserved more. I saw a friend of mine, Miss Leah, and she was one of our neighbors. And every Saturday night, Mr. Marvin, her husband, would come home drunk and he would jump on her. She's a victim of domestic violence. And I saw her years later in a grocery store. I came down to Miami to visit my mother. I said, Miss Leah, how are you doing? She said, Leslie, I'm doing great. I said, how's Mr. Marvin? She said, I'm not with him anymore. I said, you're not? I'm sorry to hear that. She said, oh, don't be. She said, I decided I deserve better. That's when people change. When they say, I've had it. I deserve better than this. I can do more than this. And that sense of awareness and self-worth increases your commitment to execute, to do certain things. And that's going to produce some results, self-fulfillment. And then you get to a certain level and you have to go back to self-awareness. What did it take for me to get here? What radical change did I make in myself? And now at this level, what do I do next to get to that next level? Because the thinking, as Einstein said, that has brought me this far has created some problems that this thinking can't solve. And now I've got to raise the bar. I've got to reinvent myself. I've got to begin to look at this with new eyes where I am. That's all of us. Life is about growth. Robert Schuller said, you either expand or you're expendable.
If you look back on your life, were there moments of darkness where you didn't know if you could do this, where you didn't know if you could spend your life?
No. There was something, my theme is you got to be hungry. And people always ask, how did you get to that place? One of the things that Nietzsche said, if you have a why for living, you can endure almost anyhow.
That's right.
I was downtown with my mother. I was 5 years old. And the neighbors would watch my brothers and sisters, but they said, Mamie, you got to take Leslie with you. And she said, why won't you keep him too? He's a little touched to the head. So Mama had to take me with her downtown because the neighbors, Miss Winnie and Miss Catherine, they don't want to watch me.
Yeah.
So I'm downtown. It's like 85 degrees in Miami, hot.
Yeah.
I see a water fountain. 5 years old. I run. I go up on the stand. I start drinking at this water fountain. And all of a sudden, I hear my mother say, get down from there, grab me at the back of my neck and threw me on the ground and start beating me, punching me in my face. She's never done this. I'm saying, Mama, it's me, this crazed look in her eyes. It's me, Mama, it's me. And then this white policeman came. He said, okay, you can stop beating that little nigger boy now. Now. He'll never do that again, as he's hidden his nightstick in his hand and walked away laughing. And my mother, she's crying, saying, Leslie, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to beat you like that. But I saw that policeman, his face was red, he's coming with a nightstick. And I had to do something to strike him because if he had hit you with that nightstick, he would have had to kill me. And here I am. hickeys on my face, my eyes swollen. And I realized I was in a different world. The sign said for colors only. I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant. And so at that, Martin Seligman in the book called Learned Optimism, between the ages of 0 and 7, the experiences we have, the things that we see, the conversations that we hear, they impact us and help to form our reality and how we see life. And I knew at that time, everything started clicking when Miss Harris said, Mamie, go in the room and look for that red hat that I have. I want to wear it tomorrow. And my mother started clapping her hands. And I asked Miss Harris, why is Mama clapping her hands? Because when I have coloreds working for me and I ask them to do something and they go in another room, I can't see them. I make them clap their hands to make sure they're not stealing.
Jeez.
And I looked her in the eyes, and this time black people were not allowed to look white people in the eyes. I was defiant. I said, my mother is not a thief. She wouldn't steal from you or anybody. She's a Christian. And she was shocked. And she just walked away. And when we got off work that day, and we were on the bus going back across the Venetian Causeway to Liberty City, I was looking out the window crying. And Mama asked, why are you crying? I said, because I want to be a man. Leslie, you're 10 years old. You'll be a man soon enough. I said, no, ma'am, I want to be a man now, Mama. She said, why? I said, because if I was a man now, I could buy groceries for us and we would not have to wait for the people that you cook for to eat and see what's left over for them to give us food that you could pack up and bring to us. I'll be able to buy groceries for us. If I was a man, I'll buy you a big, beautiful home like the homes we clean. And if I was a man, nobody will never make you clap your hands because they think that you're stealing. She said, Miss Harris told you that. I said, yes, ma'am. And I said, if I was a man, you only cook for me. My mama used to bake a sweet potato pie so good, you couldn't eat it with your shoes on. You had to kick your shoes off so you could wiggle your toes. So those are defining moments in my life that created a hunger to be able to give my mother a different kind of environment, but live a different kind of life that was told by the culture that I was in. That's off limits to you. You're not worthy of that. And so to be able to have a vision and listening to Earl Nightingale, all of us are self-made, but only the successful will admit it. Winston Churchill, the truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but at the end, there it is. These different speakers always strive to be more than that which you are, if you wish to obtain that which you are not. For wherever thy pleases thee, there thy abideth. Those words help me to begin to expand my vision of myself and to live out of my imagination as opposed to my environment. And that kept me going. So I never entertained as a possibility that I was not going to get there because I was already there in my mind.
Yep.
I was told all accomplishments happen twice, first in the mind and then in the without. And so what the mantra of Og Mandino, I will persist until I succeed. That's what I focus on. I experience and I act as if I was already there. And so that joy, that celebration, call forth those things that be not as though they were. That I remember being with an organization and called Get Motivated, and all the speakers they put on before me, they had 90 minutes. And I was the first African American to be on there, and they gave me 15 minutes. And I asked, Peter, why why you give me 15 minutes in order to be on the stage? I said, people said, we want to hear this guy, Les Brown. You bring me here and you give me 15 minutes? He said, that's a lot of time. I said, but my ability to stay on this platform, I've got to be able to sell as much money as products and generate as much money as them. Yes. Are you making an excuse just because it's 15 minutes? I said, no. So I had 5 minutes to introduce myself. I had 5 minutes to give my speech, and I had 5 minutes to close. I'll never forget. I generated $55,000 worth of product sales. All the other guys did over $200,000. But that was the best thing he could have done to me.
Yeah.
Because I came in there as a speaker. But because of what I went through and the other speakers, they held their heads down. Zig was there, Brian Tracy, all of them. As I talked to Peter and I walked out, there's a fierceness in me. I said, I'm going to be so good that you can not come see me. At some point, you're going to call me to headline this. I started reading 2 to 3 books a month, digesting stuff every day, speaking everywhere in prisons, juvenile detention centers, hospitals, everywhere. Even if I did not have a paid speaking engagement, I would go for a walk in a shopping mall in Detroit, and I practiced TTP, talk to people. Hi, my name is Les Brown. I'm so glad to meet you. I motivate, inspire people, and change their lives. Do you have any need for a speaker? No. Do you know anyone who might have need for a speaker? No. Here's my card. Don't forget me. I did that over and over and over again. And then I met this guy named Lafayette Jones. Hi, my name is Les Brown. I'm a speaker. I motivate and inspire people. Why are you going to Chicago? He said, today's my birthday. Today's my birthday too. We started talking. He said, what do you say you do? I said, I'm a speaker. Do you know anyone who would have the need for a speaker? He said, oh my God, I work for Robert Johnson. The speaker that we had scheduled canceled. He said, are you good? I said, yes, people say that I am. What do you charge? I said, how much have you allocated? He said, $5,000. I'd never got paid that money. That amount of money for $5,000 for 1 hour? I said, yes. I spoke, and it was a turning point. Mr. Johnson, he ran up to the podium after I finished. Who are you? My name is Les Brown. I'm Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. I love your speaking style. Sir, do you know anybody else that can use me? Yes. Who? Robert Schuller. I gave him $1 million for his ministry. I'm going to call him and tell him to bring you on his show. Robert Schuller called me. Hello? This is Robert Schuller. No, it's not. Yes. Robert Johnson told me to call you, to book you on my show, to interview you. I said, hold it just a minute. I dropped the telephone. I was running to the restroom. I said, I'm going to the restroom, but it's number 1. It's not number 2.
You had to go to the bathroom.
I had to pee. I was so excited. I had to pee. I said, okay. I said, wait a minute. So I came back. I said, okay. And he scheduled me. I did that interview and my phone lit up.
And that was the beginning.
Yes.
Huh.
And then from there, Dexter Yeager had me to speak in the Georgia Dome for 80,000 people.
Wow.
And it just go from there.
So you don't just land here where I am or where you are. You have these support mechanisms around
Yes.
you. You know, this morning I was at yoga, for instance. It clears my mind. It gets me
Yes.
focused. And I work with a woman who's a spirit coach, and she's constantly telling me, you've got to get out of your brain, get into your heart. She's constantly, well, what would your heart say? What would your heart say?
Right.
How do you help people like me move to the heart and communicate from there, because I'm so wrapped here.
I want to ask you this question. What's most important to you right now?
My family.
No, you don't have to analyze that. You don't have to think about that. That's in your heart. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about your life right now. A lot of people are concerned about many things in this thing called life. And let me share something with you. And you didn't ask me. My family is everything to me. And as a result of that, it has caused me to look at myself and ask myself the question, when I look at the things that I'm inspiring my children to do and what's possible for them, I'm constantly looking at Daniel and saying, what is it Daniel needs to do to improve myself, to grow mentally and emotionally and spiritually and financially, to make a greater impact with my life? And one is that focus, that there's so much noise, so many distractions. But the people that are going to make the impact, the men and women who will build families with a mindset of legacy, have a focus, a mission to achieve some things, to transform themselves, to accomplish themselves, to get them outside of their comfort zone, because in order for a man to gain his life, he must lose his life. And I'm constantly letting go parts of myself, that this vision, this focus I have right now won't permit it. I'm focused on how I can not just drive my business, grow my revenue, make a greater impact for my customers, but my relationship with my wife. I'm asking that we be transparent and ask the question, what can I do better as a father? What is it about me as a husband that you wish that I would work on? We all have short areas in our lives that need some work. And relationships require maintenance. If we stop to change our oil, to have our cars updated, we have to do that in our relationships too. Tell me, baby. Tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
As a father, talk to your children. Ask my kids. Say, tell me, and don't pull no punches. What can I do?
What's interesting about this is, and I don't know, I've experienced it. I so much want feedback. Like I need it. It's almost like, and I see that in you too.
Yes, we all do.
Well, here's the weird thing is like, I've seen the world bifurcated. There's about 10, 20% that really want feedback, and then about 70, 80% who are like, oh.
That's right.
And I
don't cast pearls before swines unless they turn and rend you. You can't give everybody feedback.
Yeah.
Some people just can't handle it.
Yeah.
No, and it's okay. That's their journey.
Just so weird, right? Because it's so valuable.
I'm not going to judge it. I mean, I'm getting ready to come here. I'm preparing for this. My brother's going downstairs to eat and look at television. That used to bother me. That's none of my business. My mother had a sign on her mirror, no matter where we moved, and we moved a lot. Oh, Lord, help me keep my long nose out of other people's business. And there's stuff that used to stress me out. No, you just let it go. It's none of my business. I've got to do that which I'm called to do. I'm on a mission. I have so much time here. I feel I'm in overtime.
Yeah.
That when they said to me at Cancer Centers of America, the cancer that you've been dealing with, Mr. Brown, we're going to give you an award, a 39-year perseverance award of 4-stage cancer.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And I was interviewed by the CEO of Cancer Centers of America. And one of the people who nominated me said, "What do you attribute this to?" I said, "Focus on living each day as if it were my last." And I heard Frank Sinatra say that to a young man. We're in Vegas, Gladys and I. And he said to this guy, "Live each day as if it were your last, because one day it will be." And so I'm focused to do all the good that I can today. This is special to me. This energizes me.